This is David from Electric Teaching, and this is part two of our Grapher with Integration Python and Pygame lesson. What I've done so far is I've created I've added on to our Grapher sequence that's done in another YouTube series. And what I have here is I've added the command to select I. And when you hit select I, whoops, gotta hit it. When you hit, oh, I have to actually show you something. When you hit select I, it moves to another screen where it then asks for input for the integration from the minimum to maximum value. One of the mistakes that I realized that I want to fix real quick is way down on line approximately 310 area. Could be slightly different. We're calling out graph equation, and we have now added the word graphs to each one of these, and I forgot to scan all the call outs for the function graph equation or graph EQ. And whoops, got to get graphs plural there. And I realized that all our resizing of calling out the graphs commands were not correct. And so I wanted to fix that and make sure that this now actually does work correctly without any errors. So I'm going to run it again here. And if I hit X, you can see I do have the I integration. I do have the I integration. And I still should be able to go to a medium size or a very small size, and that all still works pretty well. All right, so let's continue on. Let's see where we are right now is, let me open it back up here, is we need to add on the array displayed for showing the min and max values. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go all the way down to the integration. I'm just resizing this so you can see it. Sorry, little housekeeping kind of stuff. Let's go all the way down to where we're doing our integration. And down here where we've started here it is, our integration function called integrate. And what we're going to do is we're going to add on more instructions here with more blitting instructions. Not instructions, but more blitting here. So we're going to take the xmin display. We're going to make a new variable here, call it xmin display. And we're going to take the every value that gets thrown into this array up here called xmin value. We're going to do a string command called join, and that takes out all of the commas basically. And so I'm going to say take out all the commas out of the min value, and just spell it that way. I'm looking up at the variable that I made up there. So I'm going to say join the array, and then I'm going to say my xmin display now. I'm going to put a new instruction and throw it right back into the same assignment, the same variable. And we're going to say to replace all spaces in the xmin display that I just joined. So I want to get that spelled right. So xmin display equals string replace xmin display, comma, and now you got to give it two things, what you're replacing, and I'm replacing a space, so I put a green quote, space, green quote. It should do the green automatically. And then I replace it with two green quotes without a space. So this will remove the spaces. I now want to make a new variable. And I'm not going to use the word instruct because it's not an instruction. I'm going to say plot x min here. I'm going to make a new variable called plot x min, and I'm going to assign a render command to it, a font.render command. And what it's going to be, excuse me, extra dot there, is in quote, I'm going to say min x value equals, I don't need capitals there, equals space, close quote. Before I put a comma, I'm going to add more to the string here. And that's important to realize that I'm going to add, and I always, to be safe, I call it a string when I connect it with a string. A string is just a set of characters, and it just looks like typed characters to the computer. So they're not numerical values, even if they're numbers. That's important to recognize when you're coding the difference between those two types of assignments, a numerical value or a string. And for all of them, we always want to do a font render with a true, and I'm going to make this in red to match the others. I now need to blit this, screen.blit, I'm going to blit just what I made, the X-Men, comma, where will I blit it? Let's see, I'm going to do width plus 20, so it's nested a little bit inside, kind of like outline form, a little inside the other parts. Since the other parts are at 130, I figure 140 will be low enough to be with that text, but still be able to be seen clearly below it. And let's see, yeah, that should work nicely. Let's test this and see if it's working well. I'm going to run the program here. Oh, I got an error, a screen dot, oh, I forgot to close the parenthesis. That's an error that I actually put on some of my programming tests when I teach my programming class, and I actually fell for the same error. Oh, my students are probably now giggling at me, which is quite all right. I'm used to that. Let's see, if I hit I, we should, oh, got another error back here. Let's take a look. It says global name X max display. Oops, I did something where I said X max instead of X min. I oopsed it. Let me fix that real quick. Come back to the code. Whoops, right here. And yeah, X min display. I haven't made X max display yet, so let's see if that works. Okay, oh, 140 wasn't enough, was it? 140 wasn't enough. I'm going to quit this and quit altogether and restart. That way I won't get it to crash earlier. That's kind of why we do the system exit as well as the Python quit command. And I'm going to move that down to, I think, 150 below the screen. Let's go 150. So all the way down at the bottom, 150. Let's make that 150. Okay, so now I want the ability to put in numbers. I want the ability to put in numbers. Since I've already made the ability to put in numbers with this LF event key 1, etc., and the negatives and the decimals, it would be silly to retype them all up. Let's copy all of those in the function right above the integration function. Let's come down here and let's paste them in. So inside of this function, we want the key commands, the keyboard commands, the ability to type in numbers and have them appear inside, let's be specific here, inside of which array here, which array, the x min value array to begin with. So that's what I'm going to do. Right now this is called x value from our last command. I'm going to make that x min. I'm going to copy it, double click copy, and I'm carefully just going to come through and change every one of them to be now for the array, the x min array. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm back, and I've now pasted them all in. So hopefully what happens, let's run it, is now I should be able to type in numbers as when I'm in the integration subroutine, or basically in the integration screen, and they should appear inside, yep, and even the negative sign. So that won't be understood to do anything. In fact, we don't even have commands to do anything with that, but it is allowing us to type in numbers. That's perfect. So next thing I need to do is be able to move over to the X max values and be able to add in those. That's going to be a little more complicated, so I'm going to actually stop this one right now, and because that's going to take an if statement to know which one I'm entering in. I don't want to create a whole new subroutine, so I'm going to make an if statement that will allow us to punch in numbers for either the min x or the max x, and not get confused between them. I'm David from Electric Teaching. I'm glad you're listening. Hopefully this is really helping and you're learning something new and interesting.